Welcome to the Radiantpreneur Rising Show with me, Jess Tomlinson. Interviews to inspire a new movement of leaders and entrepreneurs. The ones who lead with vulnerability and authenticity, stand in visibility, allowing themselves to truly be seen, are fierce and playful and sexy. Choose business as a spiritual practice. Seek collaboration versus competition. No, giving back is not an option. It's a necessity. They do it their way. They radiate. They rise. Now, let's rise together. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to the Radiantpreneur Rising Show. I'm Jess Tomlinson. Super thrilled to be here today with my dear friend that I've been wanting to get on the show for so long, Molly Mandelberg. I freaking love her. We've known each other for, I don't know, like almost 4 years now. Yeah, something like that. And we've done, workshops together, probably some other stuff together. I don't know. I just freaking love you, Molly. And I'm so excited for you guys to get to know her. She's a business genius and super creative entrepreneur, very spiritual. And I have a good feeling we're going to have an amazing conversation and just see what leads us down the rabbit hole today. So thanks, Molly.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and hi, everyone.
Yay. All right, so there's only one question that I start out with, surprise, and that is, how are you currently leaning into your visibility edges in life and business? Can be either or both.
Wow, that's a great question. I am a big fan of going beyond my comfort zone, and that looks different every day. Lately, I've gone through phases in my life, in my business, where I'm doing more Facebook Lives and more videos and more just like heavy broadcasting. And over the last month, that's definitely been where I'm showing up the most visibility wise, is just forcing myself to get back on video. I have a podcast, I have a YouTube channel, I have, lots of social media content going out all the time, but getting myself to just shoot video, whether it's live or whether it's pre-recorded, so that it can go out on all those platforms. That's really my leading edge right now. Of I'm really comfortable and confident in front of a room now. I used to have really, really bad stage fright, but as that got more comfortable, I started realizing, there's more that could be shared and more that could be done by being on video. People are watching video online all the time. So focusing on how to get more content put up on YouTube, and then just showing up to tell people what I'm up to when I get on social media, and doing that live and in person has really been the focus lately.
Yeah, I love that. And what is it for you that feels like an edge? Because, everybody has their own thing. And I think I've heard it all. Like, it's interesting. There's like so many different things when it comes to video, especially live video, right?
Yeah.
And even pre-recorded, like a lot of perfectionist tendencies can come up because you can like hit the record button over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, like, what is it for you?
Yeah, I think the main things are, I mean, they're all the same things that everybody talks about. I don't know what I feel like saying today, or I don't feel put together enough. Like yesterday, it was in a group, so it wasn't as public, but made a Facebook Live into one of my groups for my group program without having showered, without having put on any makeup, just sort of need to make this video right now, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And doing that when you don't feel like you're best, or like you're completely put together or completely prepared, that's an edge. That's something that maybe experts would even advise you not to do, but sometimes you got to get that thing out there, and it's important to do it. And I also think the other one is not wanting to over tell people about something. I think people hesitate because they're like, I already did a video about that, or I already announced that to people. I don't want to bother them. And I think more and more, I preach this all the time, but more and more I'm realizing that most people don't see everything you put out there. And if they do, they're usually people who are already your fans and your friends, and they don't mind. And
Yeah.
some people who see the thing that you mentioned before need a reminder in order to go and sign up for it or show up for it themselves. So being willing to keep broadcasting, keep sharing the same message, keep going and mentioning that thing again, and doing it as often and as dynamically as you can. That's the thing that we can talk ourselves out of doing it enough,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are so good. And I've definitely had all of those come up as well. And it's funny because I'm like a guest mentor right now in my friend Allie Daniels' program, and I'm helping to coach all the women in this program on their visibility. And one of the women this past Monday had said that thing around like, oh, I don't want to waste people's time, or like I really want to make it like worth it, you know, for them, or I feel like bad for taking up space, or you know, taking up their time. And I was like, it's so crazy how we say these things, because I've definitely felt that way too. But then I asked her, I was like, well, do you think anybody's like holding the people on the other end at gunpoint, like to listen to you?
Right.
She just started laughing, and it kind of took her out of that, like, oh right, yeah, it's their choice.
Right.
Like,
If they don't want to hear it,
um
they won't listen to it.
yeah, yeah. And I'm so
Yeah.
with you on the like, I've definitely had to reframe the like, I can say the same thing over and over again, because I am somebody that like, I love to reinvent and like create different ways of saying things. And like, I also get really bored really easily. And I'm like, okay, people can hear the same thing over and over again. And not only can they, but they need to, you
Right.
know? And it's like something crazy, like people now need to hear the same thing. I don't remember the number, but it used to be like way back in the day when I was in branding for corporate, it was like 8 times. And now it's like way more than that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It used to be like people needed a touch point to hear the same exact message 8 times,
Hmm.
which is still a lot,
That
right?
is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and now I can't remember, but I just read it the other day, like a stats geeky thing on, you know, whatever study had been
Yeah.
done for marketing, and I was like blown away. Like, wow. So, good
Crazy.
reminder for all of us that are really
Right.
sharing our message. Like, hey,
Yeah.
it's okay, and people aren't paying attention as much as we imagine, and that's actually an okay thing, because it's an invitation for us to like keep at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can reinvent it. You can do the video in a different place. You
Mhm.
can do it in a different way. You can lead into the same topic or teaching point from a different angle and still
Yes.
drive the point home for that one thing you want to make sure people are educated about and understand.
Right. Yeah, I know one thing that you and I think, are both passionate about is really like keeping it alive for ourselves. Like if it's not fun for us, like why would we do it? And you know, like I was thinking of our video the other day where we did the hustle to promote like
Yeah.
our workshop, and that was just so fun. Like that was helping to re-inspire me, since I knew we were going to be doing this interview, of like, yeah, I need to do more stuff like that again. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'm so hesitant to like do it on my own. You know, it's easy for me with another person, but it's like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, getting back to that.
Fun, creative. Yeah. For everybody who hasn't seen that video, because it was quite a long time ago, we were
Yeah.
doing a workshop about, I don't even remember what we called it, something about visibility, but
Show up and make money.
show up and make money. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
But we did the old dance, The Hustle, and we both shot ourselves doing the dance and then Jess brilliantly like cut them together so it looked like we were dancing together. That was a fun marketing tactic.
It was super fun. I know. I'll have to link up. I'll find that video. I'm sure I can find it on Facebook. And we got like tons of views on that, you know. So hey, even though it's like sometimes we feel like we're, you know, maybe too silly. I know that's a lot of like visibility blocks for some people, and myself included, because I want people to like take me seriously. And yet at the end of the day, like people want to be entertained as well, right?
Yeah,
It's a great,
totally.
good gateway.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that about your edge. And I think a lot of people can relate. So I'd love to start by you just sharing a little bit. Like, I want to dive into this archetypal work, because I know both of us are passionate about using archetypes to really activate the people that we work with. And so, why were you drawn to like start using, because it's the tarot or tarot,
Yeah.
however people say it, right? Like, so tell
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that and like how you incorporate archetypes into your work.
Yeah, so I was looking at building a quiz for my business 2 or 3 years ago. And when we're looking at creating anything for marketing purposes or for sharing our message, we want to make sure that it has our vibe intact. So I thought that by using tarot archetypes, that I would be, even though I'm still talking about business and marketing and content creation and strategy, which is all kind of like dry, like linear stuff, that I still have a really powerful spiritual side. And the people I want to attract to my business are potent spiritual beings. And so I wanted to use something that would both give me an avenue to talk about the things I wanted to talk about, but also do it through a container that would speak to their hearts and bring those people forward. Because I know somebody who's, super um, linear thinker or not really tapped into the spiritual consciousness world at all isn't necessarily going to be drawn towards these tarot archetypes. So I had the idea to use tarot archetypes, and so I just started studying them and like reading about them. A friend of mine turned me on to the fact that the tarot is actually related to the Kabbalah, the tree of life, which is really
Right.
how thought and idea and inspiration comes down into the physical world, how an ethereal concept becomes actualized and becomes physical and real and tangible and visible in our lives. And
Mm-hmm.
that idea just lit me up inside. And I just started reading all these books about how those were related and started pulling out these archetypes that I could use for my quiz. And as I did that, I started realizing that these archetypes I chose and how they relate to things actualizing, things coming to be manifest, that it's so related to every layer of business. I'm actually writing a nonfiction book right now about my own journey of growing my business. And it's so multifaceted how these 5 archetypes that I chose relate to everything. But basically, I chose the
Mm-hmm.
Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, and the Hierophant. And the way that I've related those to business is the Fool is about boldness. It's where we actually take the leap of faith and say, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this. I have an idea. I'm going to move forward with it. The Magician
Mm-hmm.
is where we start to get resource. Like, what do I already know? What do I need to know? Who do I know? Who do I need to reach out to? Sort of like gaining the tools of being the magician that I've got, what's required to create what I want to create. The High
Mm-hmm.
Priestess is about tapping into intuition. So are we staying in alignment? Are we listening to whatever wisdom is trying to come through us, and sharing that with the world? Are we broadcasting the like energy of the being that we are? And then the Empress is actually about creation. So like, what are we actually bringing from gestation to fruition? Like, what are we actually making? What are the pieces of the puzzle that need to be expressed in order for this vision to start coming to life? It's the actual like doing and making phase. And then the
Mm-hmm.
Hierophant is the leader. It's the person who's actually the orator, speaking in front of an audience, sharing and broadcasting that message to the world. So all of those stages like have to happen over and over again and simultaneously and interrelated. But really those 5 stages seemed to me to encompass the entirety of growing a business, launching a program, writing a book,
Mm-hmm.
bringing any project or idea to life. And once
Yeah.
I started realizing that, I got really turned on by the idea. And those are the 5 archetypes that I used for my what level of thought leader quiz are you? And it helps
Mm-hmm.
show people like, hey, you're still in this fool phase. This is about boldness. Like, what can you go boldly step forward towards? What kind of leap of faith is being asked of you right now? Or, hey, you're a magician right now. Like, what are you learning? What are you resourcing yourself with? What kinds of things are coming into your sphere of awareness that want to be mastered, that want to be um, like learned by you?
Mm-hmm.
Or, hey, you're the Empress. Like, now's the time to make shit. What have you set up? What do you need to set up? What kind of tools and softwares and like robots of the modern age want to be set up in order to support you to make this an easy, joyful creation process? Or,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you're the Hierophant. Like, are you broadcasting? If you already are, is that easy for you? Does it need to be on a higher level? Is it time to get on stage? Is it time to lead that webinar finally because you have an audience that wants to hear it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are the pieces that need to occur? And then knowing that that's where you're at, here's some tools that I have to support you in that piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
which is really fun. And then as of course, I was playing with these tarot archetypes and I'm an artist and a writer, I had the idea to create an oracle deck out of all of that. And
Yeah. Do you want
yeah,
to show everybody? I want to see it. I
yeah,
mean, I've
sure.
seen it in photos, but
Yeah, it took me 2 years. That there's this little guidebook which has the description of how I made the book and the description of each of the cards
yeah.
and wildheartsraiseup.com. And then yeah, there's 60 hand colored cards here
Oh, pretty.
that
Ooh, I
say
love that one. What's that
miracles.
one? Miracles?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So there's 6 suits. The 6 suits are those 5 archetypes plus the Wheel of Fortune, because I wanted to have some talk about money and abundance in there too.
Yeah.
And it took me 2 years. I came up with the idea for the framework of the deck, then the words for each of the cards, then a picture to go along with them. And I
Is
started
that a
drawing
fox?
them. Yeah,
Oh, it's so cute.
Fox was jealousy.
Yeah.
Oops.
Cool.
Yeah, little cutie. Yeah, and then just coloring them in and finishing up the book about it. And then I did an Indiegogo campaign to fund the printing of it, which was a whole emotional adventure in and of itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty fun. I'm going to show you all of them, but I'll show you some more. I love this one. Rapid manifestation. Guidance. This way. Yeah. So because it's coming from like spirit down into reality,
Yeah.
and the deck is designed to take us from here's an idea and it can come to manifest. The earlier cards in the deck, like 1 through 20 or 30, are generally more abstract, less
Mm-hmm.
tangible images, and then as you go further in the deck, they're more concrete things.
Mm-hmm.
With plenty of exceptions to that rule, of course. But that's sort of the idea, is like it's this geometric magical thing, and then it starts
Mm-hmm.
to become like this actual thing you can hold in your hands or look at.
So good. Okay, so I want to ask you, because I feel like we've had this conversation before, correct me if I'm wrong, but did it take you a while to embrace this spiritual side of how you wanted to show up and share your work and your services and your message?
Yeah, it was sort of a back and forth. So I was raised with this kind of spirituality, like believing
Mm-hmm.
in the law of attraction, past lives, all that kind of far out woo woo, Akashic record kind of stuff. So I've always been like fascinated by it and asking as many questions as I could about it and reading books about it. And I also grew up in a very like Christian community where, for my own well-being, my mom told me as a little kid, like, this is what we believe, and it's probably better if you don't talk about it with your friends because they just won't get it. They're being raised in this sort of dogmatic Christian
Mm.
way, and there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with this, but they don't always make sense to each other. And so sort of the message I got as a little kid was, we get to believe in this far out shit, and it's awesome and magical, and like, how fun is it that we get to create our own realities, and it's better if you don't talk about it. So as I started growing my business, and I started my business doing hypnotherapy and being in that spiritual conversation world a lot, the idea of broadcasting myself as this hypnotherapist with this far out way of seeing the world was sort of against that safety mechanism I had gained as a child of like, wait, I'm not supposed to talk about this,
Yeah.
but here I am, like, needing to run a business about it. And so there was this disjunct I had to figure out of, wait, am I going to be known as that person? Am I willing to be known as that person? And the more I go through it and the more healing I've done around it, it's, we don't get burned at the stake this lifetime for being these witchy ass women. It's actually pretty
Thank God.
safe and okay to do it right now. There are a lot of people out there who are already part of this conversation and who want to talk about it. So it actually really is okay. There's always going to be people who don't get it. And those people are allowed to not get it. They can just not get it, and they can live their own lives and believe in their own thing. And that doesn't have to make this thing wrong just because some people aren't in line with it or don't get it. And then it's also like, after I realized I didn't want to do hypnotherapy anymore, I did have this sort of weird path of, I started wanting to be more of a coach and talk more about relationships or about money or about purpose or something, and getting more into this digital marketing and content creation world, and sort of leaving that spiritual conversation behind a little bit, and
Mhm.
realizing that that was really fun for me to be making these things and allowing my like engineering brain to be creative and like dynamically involved in these technology system things. And there was
Mhm.
a part of me that was like, wait, there's
Yeah.
this whole side of you that's not getting to play along.
The
So it's
soul
been a
part,
process.
right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
soul part and the like potent spirituality of what I
Mhm.
really believe is occurring here and how I use that to create my life from the ground up. And that's a conversation I want to be a part of every single day with every single person I speak to.
Yeah.
So as I started doing this nerding out and building this quiz in this way, I started to realize, wait, that spirituality stuff is like hugely important to growing a business. And
Yeah.
those are the people I want to be talking to anyway. So through the quiz, through the deck, through the latest program that I've launched called Magic, which is Magnetic Influencer Collective, I've started finally bringing those two things together,
Yeah.
and bringing, of course, the people who are willing to have that spirituality conversation and who also require the business stuff I have to offer
Mhm.
together to say, it's both about the being and the doing. I can't tell you how many times that phrase has come out of my mouth in the last 2 weeks, but it's about the
Mhm.
being and the doing. It's about setting the things up and doing the things that will allow your business to expand and grow and evolve and allow your people to find you, while
Mhm.
also mastering that being side of what is the inner game about? What are you telling yourself?
Yeah.
What are you actualizing? What are you asking for? And
Yeah.
how can we bring all of that magic and all of that business, technical setup
Yeah.
into alignment so that your people can find you, you can do your life's work, and we can start to shift this paradigm as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. And so what I hear you saying is really this part of you has always been there, and it's really been an embracing of doing your own healing work to accept that this is part of you, and then doing some mindset kind of pivots of like, all right, if I'm thinking that this is not okay, actually, how can it be awesome to bring this spirituality into my business? And you had like so many great, things that you just check through even right now. So I can tell that, like, right? That this work matters. And I think that's really important for everybody listening. Like, if you're hesitant, even when you're in conversation, like around your why, like why is it important for you to stand in embracing your spirituality in business, or embracing your weirdness or your playfulness or your sexiness or whatever it
Yeah.
is, like be able to have those things flow out of your mouth, I think is really, and feeling it is super important, right? But like
Yeah.
the way that you conveyed that, I could just tell that it's truth for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
So
that's, yeah, vital, whether it's about spirituality or, like you said, about your quirkiness, your silliness. The more you let
yeah.
yourself embrace that and run your business from that place, the
Hmm.
more fun it's going to get for you. And the more the people who you actually want to be hanging out with are going to show up to be your clients.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And it's an unfolding. It's a guess and check. It's a, oh, wait, I'm going to do this. This feels good. And then it's like, wait, there's this part of this
Yes.
I forgot over here. Okay. I'm going to come over here and do it like this a little bit. Okay. That's starting to
Yeah.
feel a little bit more synergized and like
Yeah.
together. And then it's like, okay, well, what would be the next level up of that mixing both sides together? And
Hmm.
yeah, it's got to be like this exploration of guess and check. I think some people want to be like, I want to get clear and I'm just going to do that thing I got clear on forever. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, what if you got clear on something that needs to now pivot and evolve and you got
Oh
stuck and
my
maybe
god.
it has to stay the same? Like, you
Yes.
got to stay open to that change. It's this meandering river path. And the hope is that you just stay downstream and not beat your way upstream.
Yes, I love this. And you get clear. Ben and I, when we were driving over, we just did some house sitting in Los Gatos in California, and we were driving over back here to our new home in Vegas.
Mhm.
Um, and we were listening to Marie Forleo's book. Have you
I
read her
haven't
book
listened to
or?
it yet. No.
Okay. It's got a ton of like concepts that I've heard a quadrillion times. And so part of me had to remember to take off my, like, I already know this hat, because I can get very quickly into like, tell me something deep and meaningful and open my mind. And one of the things that she said, which like was just a great reminder, is like you get clarity through action. Like you can find what feels true for you to take action on now,
Yeah,
but where the real clarity happens is when you're in action. That was just part of what I was hearing you say.
totally. Yeah.
And I know there's this huge conversation, which, I've been feeling really big time for the last year, of giving ourselves permission as entrepreneurs who are spiritually evolving, which if you're committed to that path, like you're going to change much faster probably than you might even like sometimes. And that means that your work is going to change and evolve as well. And I know, like, I'm curious, Molly, how you have allowed yourself to change and evolve without beating yourself up. Because I know for me, sometimes it can be a struggle, like where I'm like, really, like things, and I'm going through it right now. I'm like, all right, I can feel it. Like things need to shift, they need to change, they need to evolve. And I can very easily take on like shame, even from mentors that are like, you must do the same thing and practice and do it over and over again and get really fucking good at it. And it just doesn't feel true for me. So how
Yeah.
have you, I'm curious, have you had this experience and how have you worked through it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you pulled that out of what I just said, which is that clarity comes through action and it comes through testing it and trying it. And I think as I was figuring out earlier on in business that every time I would change my focus and I would push in a new direction, I would create so much content and I would create a new online course. I would create new email sequences before I realized that's what I should actually be helping people with, is putting all those systems together and writing all that content.
Yeah.
And I would feel like I was starting over from ground zero every time. And what I realized after a while was I'm never starting at ground zero. Every single time I'm willing to bust ass and take action and move in that new direction, I'm learning so much and I'm creating so much that it's really like I'm pivoting. I'm pivoting into a new direction, and all of that stuff is still here behind me, keeping me focused, having taught me so much. It's not that I'm walking back to the beginning and saying, okay, now I'm going a different route. I'm going to go from here that way. It's always a pivot, not a start over. So I think that was the first distinction that I thought started really giving me permission to keep going.
Yeah.
And that hesitation of I'll take action once I know is like the biggest myth, the biggest fallacy I wish new entrepreneurs or anyone trying to chase a vision would give up. Like, do the one thing that makes sense for you right now. Like, I just talked my brother into recording himself. He's the GM of a restaurant, and we want to make a course about everything he knows about restaurantship, basically managing a thing like that. And nobody stole that idea. It's a good idea. But he has so much knowledge about this and so much wisdom, and he can speak so well about it because he's passionate about it and he's nerded out on it enough. And I said, listen, first thing is you got to start recording yourself talking about it. So like, we don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know how we're going to put all these pieces of the puzzle together, but I knew if we had something to start with. So he just recorded himself giving his Sunday talk to his people to get his team jazzed up, to get them focused, to keep the vision alive of what they were doing there. That was one step. Doesn't mean we know the whole plan. Doesn't mean we know how we're going to put all the pieces together. I mean, I have a lot of points of view about how we're going to put it together and what we're going to make it look like. But to take that one action that makes sense right now and not have to know the entire whole plan or how it's going to work, but be willing to keep moving forward, be willing to get curious. What does want to happen right now? What would step one towards that look like? Even if I don't know what my niche is, or even if I don't know what my business model looks like, or even if I don't know where I'm going to host a workshop, could I write copies for that workshop? Could I set a date for that workshop, even if I don't have a location yet? Like, you don't have to have all the pieces in place in order to move forward and take action. And I can't tell you how many workshops I did about things I thought were what I was going to be teaching for the rest of my life. And I look at those scripts now and I'm like, none of this had anything to do with who I'm supposed to be or what I'm supposed to do. But if I hadn't taught that workshop, I wouldn't have got better at teaching workshops when I figured out what I did want to do.
Yeah. Or
So
we don't get clarity on what we do want to do without feeling like, I don't want to do this. Like, this wasn't for me.
Right. You have to
Sometimes we just
try
don't.
it in order to get that it's not it.
Yeah. Oh,
Exactly.
this is so important. It's so important. I feel like, especially for creative entrepreneurs, innovative entrepreneurs, like this is the juice, right? This is the juice where, for me, it really helps to remember like everything's an experiment. And it's hard for me to actually believe that, but I say it over and over again. Everything's an experiment. Everything's an experiment. So that I don't set these like crazy, I see this a lot, like especially with my own clients too, right? The like overachievers and like I can do anything, which is awesome. And in my own life, what I've learned is like when I set my expectations super, super high, it's like oftentimes unrealistic. Like, I believe in dreaming big, yes, and creating like winnable kind of games for us too,
Yeah.
right? Like winnable games for us so that we feel like we can really celebrate. Even the small wins is so important for moving
Yes.
forward and like not being attached to how things do work out, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super
So
important. Winnable
super important.
goals and big dreams. Those can live together.
Yes,
You can live
both.
both.
Everything's really a polarity, right? Like the more that we can hold that those like complex paradoxes, I feel like that's the answer to everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think inside of that, also being willing to ask questions all the time. Like,
Mhm.
this is this vision that keeps showing up for me. I see this giant, scary, big thing. And instead of being like, I couldn't possibly, or being like, I have to be like, what would
Yeah,
it take? I wonder how
yeah,
I'm going to get there. Wow. I keep seeing this vision. I wonder what that's going to look like. I wonder what's required of me in order to bring that about. Like, being willing to stay curious with it and be in the conversation with it to eventually arrive at it or arrive at something better than it in the first place. that
mhm.
that curiosity, I think, is a big key in there too. And what would a winnable goal on the way to that look like if I want
Yes.
it to be like $1 million a year income, what would a
Mhm.
winnable goal on the way to that look like? Would that look like having your first $5,000 month, having your first $10,000 month? Like, what's a
Mhm.
benchmark that you could reach for that's closer to you right now that would guide you towards that future thing?
Yeah.
And not holding yourself to these, not impossible, but like intangible right now things, and
Mhm.
getting more curious about what would right now look like for that future thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. Was there any kind of fears for you? I want to talk about the Indiegogo campaign when you
Oh my God. Yeah.
you put yeah, it sounds like it was a big like woo. So talk a little bit about that. Like what fears came up around,
Yeah.
doing this campaign for the cards.
Yeah, I mean, you and me share that of like, oh, I got to do. I'm into it. I'm doing it right now. This is how it works. So here it goes. So
Yeah.
I finished the deck. The goal was to finish. I had put it off finishing the deck for so long, and I finally had a mastermind group that was like, when do you want to finish it by? We're gonna hold you to this. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, it would be really fun to have a test print before Burning Man. They said, okay, work back from there. When would you have to have the deck done to get a test print by Burning Man? So I did all that, got it all done, got the test print. As soon as I got the test print, I was like, well, shit, like if I'm going to hand this out, excuse my language, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on your
Oh,
show.
it's fine. We say
If
everything here.
if I'm going to, if I'm going to like give these cards out, like I give out 2 whole decks and had my little website at the bottom.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be giving these out at Burning Man, I want people to be able to go home and order the deck. So I should set up the Indiegogo campaign right now.
Yeah.
But Indiegogo is like, okay, so how long do you want the campaign to be? It's up to 60 days. I was like, 40 days. We'll give it 40 days. We'll make it a flexible goal. That means if I didn't hit it, I could extend it, whatever. So
Yeah.
I set up this Indiegogo campaign for 40 days. Then I went to the desert where I don't have internet for 13 days. Like,
Talk about trust.
yeah. So I was like, okay, I put it out there. I'm an automated business owner. I set up emails to go out about it to my list. I set up social media posts to talk about it while I was gone. Did a couple of videos about it before I left and put those on YouTube and put those on Facebook and things like that. But then I just went to the desert and went and had fun. I gave out 2 whole decks worth of that with the Indiegogo campaign on the back. So 120 cards basically out there in the world to see if people wanted them. And then I came back and I kept hustling it, kept writing emails about it, kept talking to people about it. But it got to the point where we were at day 33 out of 40. The campaign was at 38% complete out of 100%. And I was like, I was in a place of, this is impossible. I need to find another way. So I was asking questions. Okay, is it better if I extend the campaign? Is it better if I just order less decks so that campaign goal doesn't have to be as high? Is it better if I just pay out of pocket and like it'll come back to me later? Like, I was looking at all these plan B options. And luckily I was at Thrive Academy that weekend. I was on the success panel at the summit a few weeks ago. Jess and I met at Thrive Academy.
Mhm.
And I was talking to some of my very woke, beautiful entrepreneurial community friends and came to the realization of, oh, I believe this is impossible. And yet there's still 6 days at that point, 6 days left
Yeah.
that it could be possible. And once I got that, I had been walking through the world with these last few weeks of a total limitation a belief that it was absolutely impossible, I decided number one, I would change my mind. And number two, I would go after it harder, because was I doing as much as I could be doing? No, I could be telling more people about it. I could be reaching out personally. The other thing that
Mm.
happened was multiple people gave me a little slap on the wrist for not telling them personally. Like, I
Mm.
had a client saying, when is your Oracle deck going to be for sale? And I was like, are you kidding me? It's been emailed out. It's been social media posted out. I've been telling everyone
Yeah.
every way I thought I was telling people that it was available. And because I hadn't told people personally, they either didn't see the email or they're not on my algorithm on social media and they didn't see the post about it. There are people who really love me and care and want to buy it, who don't
Mm-hmm.
even know they can buy it yet. And that sort of woke me up to, okay, I need to go a little bit more grassroots in my efforts. I need to tell people a little bit more
Yeah.
individually, and also believe it's freaking possible.
Yeah.
So I went really hard. I sent a blind carbon copy email to 85 people that are very close friends of mine and said, hey, here's what's up. Would you help me share it? Do you know anyone who wants it? Have you even heard that it's available yet? Here's this email about it. I would love to
Yeah.
ask your support with it. I started sending out personal messages to friends who had said they wanted to get it and just been like, did you remember this is almost over? And then doing a
Yeah.
video, like almost every day I did a video either on Instagram or on Facebook saying, hey guys,
Mm-hmm.
this is where we're at, and started getting people enrolled in the mission of, we're at 48%, we're at 79%, we're at 80%. That kind of
Yeah.
energetic excitement, because there was a deadline. There was a
Yeah.
clock of time running out, and that sort of is fun for people to play along with.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping people informed on what was happening, I think, helped a lot too. But long story long, um, we got to 117% with a few hours left to spare on day 40. Yeah.
I know when I got that, because I was on that email of like the 85 people, right? And
Yeah.
we were like in crazy moving back and forth madness. And I just responded to you like yesterday, right? And I was like, holy shit, I totally missed this. How'd you do? And then you said 117%. I was like, holy shit, that's amazing. You
Yeah.
have to come on the show. Let's talk about this.
Yeah. It's really fun.
Wow. Like what a story of inspiration, Molly. Like I love, love, love. And for me, like what's really present, and I tell this over and over again to people, because I think part of the misunderstanding of like automation and like, let's make a sustainable business is that you're not going to have to do personal reach outs, and
Mm.
that
Yeah.
like
It just adds to it.
it's
It just
so
helps.
valuable. It's
Yeah.
so valuable. And like, I know, even from like the last challenge that I did with Melissa Harmon, we did the Facebook Live challenge. We didn't get anybody enrolled in our program until we started doing personal reach outs. Like, it's just invaluable, And to also remember, like, people want you to win. Like,
Yeah.
like by you getting on video and then reaching out and like sharing where you are at and getting them enrolled in the mission, and your excitement is super contagious. I know that firsthand. So
Yeah.
I can only imagine, like how much people were rooting for you and that they want to help you.
Yeah.
Um, and all of us, like, I think oftentimes we can get in our little bubbles of like, okay, well, I'm doing this alone, or I've kind of like sent out the mass emails, and
Yeah. And if you think
yeah.
about it, like there are so many places where media and the world is telling us about what's wrong and what's not working. To get
Mm-hmm.
to support people and having a win, even if it's secondhand win, people want that. People want to feel the joy of, yes, we can. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
there's completion, there is fruition, there is
Yeah.
like community involvement in actualizing something. Like, the more we can enroll people in this winnable game, whatever that winnable game is that we choose to create,
Mm-hmm.
we have to be the one making the game sometimes.
Yes,
Most of
totally.
the time. The more we can enroll people in that, the more they want to see it. Like you said, people want to see it come to fruition. They want to see success. They want to see,
Yeah.
and they want to be a part of it. And people,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I made something beautiful that people are going to really enjoy receiving. So it was easier for them to say yes to it than maybe something that they had to pay for and then follow through with.
Yeah.
But still, it's a part of it is the energy of the game. I want to see this win. I want to see this work. I want to
Mm-hmm.
believe in something being possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of
So
games
good.
can we create for people? How much fun would
Yeah.
that be?
Yeah, and for people to participate and have a buy-in. I love that. What do you think the biggest thing you learned about yourself through this whole process of the cards has been?
Yeah, I can. I was really, when I had this idea for the Oracle deck, I was reaching out to, I went to art school, so I know some amazing artists, and I was reaching out to
Mhm,
artists right and left, being like, can you help me make this? We make this. I have this all written out. Can you just help me make the pictures? And it just wasn't working out. And I was like, fine, I have a degree in art. I'll just make the art. Like, I'm not the best artist, but I can do it.
mhm,
The believing that this project could come to life, letting it have a life of its own, getting to use like all these different parts of me to create it. Like, this isn't a business topic. I mean, it would work great for entrepreneurs, but this is really a creative, like, life form that was trying to come out of me. So giving
mhm,
it the time and space, and also I think reaching out for the accountability support that I needed at the very end, of like having people who are like, all right, we care now, we're paying attention. What are you going to
mhm,
do? Like, are you going to finish it? When are you going to finish it by? Okay, let's
mhm,
put a little fire under my butt. I realize that I do work better with accountability. I am capable of absolutely seeing a creative project to fruition. I mean, I make a lot of things
mhm,
happen, so I knew that was true also. But
mhm,
just knowing that when people have your back, that it makes everything more fun. So it's almost like both the accountability and the Indiegogo campaign, it was like, rather than just thinking I need to do everything myself and I'm going to do it all myself always, and that's how things get done and that's how it stays mine or whatever. I think getting that people want to be a part of this process and that you are capable of more with the support of others, that was the biggest
mhm.
lesson. Um,
Yeah.
I think overall that was the biggest lesson from this whole thing. There's something else I wanted to say about that, but I can't remember what it was.
Mm,
But yeah,
yeah.
it's magic.
So good. I love all these points. I feel like it's really resonating for me, and I'm sure it's resonating for a lot of people. Um, yeah. What's your favorite card? Do you have a favorite?
I have a couple of favorites.
Or
Yeah,
do you want to pull one? Tell me your favorite, and then let's
this
pull a
is
card.
this is one of my favorites, the generator, which is like a Taurus. It's like a what's his name? What are those fancy cars? I'm drawing a blank.
Fancy?
The What's those fancy cars called? The electric cars?
Oh, Tesla.
Tesla. Yeah, this is like
Yeah.
a Tesla coil on top of a mountain. I like that. It's a generator of energy. Okay, we're
Cool.
picking a card. Do we want to ask a question, or just we'll pick the card that's meant for
Let's
us?
ask a question for people. Let's ask about, can we ask about 2020?
So, how about 2020?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
I selfishly, I want it for myself. I'm like,
Okay,
oh, going
great.
through
We're pulling for
my own
2020.
process.
Ooh, that's a good one. Magician's Portal,
11.
11. It's a magical number. All right, Magician's Portal. You ready?
I'm ready.
Ooh, all that you desire is yours as long as you use the resources at your disposal. As long as you're willing to learn, grow, explore, discover. What would it take to be the potent, powerful magician you truly be? What tools are slipping into your awareness asking to be mastered by you? What would it take to turn your magic all the way the fuck on? This is what this card is calling for: an unbridled, unabashed moment of choosing to totally immerse yourself in the experience and exploration of your own particular and unique kind of magic. It's
Mm.
basically everything we were just talking about.
Yes.
Ask
Ah,
good
I
questions,
love.
be willing to explore, know that you know.
I
It's
love I love that. So for everybody watching, dreaming into our magic for 2020, and the resources part too really stood out to me because I you kept mentioning that, like really leaning into what you have available and both in support and tools and possibility resources and
yeah,
dreaming. The
yeah.
magical part really resonates with me. You weren't there, but I keep talking about this on every show when I'm having these conversations with people, but it's because it's so present for me. At Thrive, I had a breakthrough. I was like the one breakthrough for speaker two, which for everybody watching is like a higher level speaker training event. And I was on stage, and my thing that I wanted support in was feeling magical again.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting that card
Perfect.
just got pulled. So I just wanted
Okay.
to let you know, so you could kind of,
I love that.
we can show the proof of how amazing like it is just to really tune in and use those cards as like an anchor, right? And inspiration and
Yeah. A tool with which to grow, or a way to get re-inspired or unblocked, or
yeah,
taps back into your magic.
I love this so much. So what is inspiring you for 2020? Not to jump too far ahead, but for some reason my energy is already like, okay, let's get to 2020.
Yeah.
What's next for you, Molly? What are you excited about?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, the two main things I'm focusing on right now are, I've got a series of programs that line up with each other. And the next one, the next Magic Magnetic Influencer Collective is starting in January. So I'm excited to see how that all comes to pass over the next few months, who ends up being a part of that group. It's a really yummy, like, have your back energy kind of collective
Mm,
group of actualizers. So it's going to be fun to see who ends up in that. That's exciting about 2020. And
yeah.
then for those of you who don't already know me, because you're on Jess's show right now, I travel the world full time and live that hashtag van life.
Yes, she
So I'm excited for the adventures that are coming in the next few months leading up to that. I'm excited to get back to Arizona and go to the Tucson Gem Show in January, February.
does. Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, there's yummy things ahead on the horizon. I think I'm going to be back in Europe next spring. But as far as my business, really getting this new book written, getting these programs, into the hands of the people who desire and require them.
Yeah.
That's my main focus. And then, of course, finishing the last details on building out my tiny house in my van. There's still a few things that I
Right.
want to finish creating inside of there, even though it's very homey and comfy already.
That's so amazing,
Yeah.
Molly. Yay. What is like one like personal goal for yourself for 2020? Like what are you exploring?
Yeah, I mean, my connection with my body is something that has been evolving a lot lately. I
Mm.
actually gave up sugar and gluten and dairy a few weeks ago, and I've
Wow.
been really loving that. And last winter, I fell in love with doing yoga every day, so I'm working on getting back to an everyday
Every
practice of that.
day? Wow.
I did it for a few weeks every day this winter, and then went to Europe and sort of fell out of the practice. But
Mhm.
my my making, because I'm a maker of things on the computer, and like
Mhm.
I'm building things out in my van a lot, but I work so much online and I drive so much, like my body also wants
Yeah.
more movement, more exercise, more aliveness in that. And so just giving my normal routine sort of a shake up and a jumble to say, what do I actually want to make sure I do every single day? And
Mhm.
living on the road, it's hard to keep that ritual practice routine going, but it's
Yeah.
doable. So making time for that ritual and that groundedness and that centeredness to stay a really vital part of my life, even while I'm traveling every day on the road. That's my
I
main
love
focus for
that.
sure right now.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. That's one of my focuses as well. Living in Santa Cruz, I just became so, which is hilarious because there's like beautiful beaches to walk along,
Yeah.
but I lived so far, as you saw, like out of the way, and then traffic would be horrible going back home. So I had all these excuses, um, and the accessibility now that we're back in Las Vegas of the gyms here. There's a local gym called Las Vegas Athletic Club, and they're everywhere. Like literally, you have no excuse. And and if you pay in full for the year, it ends up being like $12 a month. And
Yeah.
you get access to like 400 classes around like every week. There's like 400 classes, with all the different gyms combined. And so I'm like, yes, my body is so craving that
Yeah.
movement again. So love
That's
that.
good. That's great. So accessible.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. I mean, really, there's always a way to like let go of the excuses. But now I'm like, okay, there really are no
Right.
excuses. So
Yeah.
let's do this. And the
Yeah.
desire is like strong enough, that I'm willing to do it. So
Yeah. And like, what more is possible in our businesses if our bodies are like lit up and turned on and excited.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I
all
know.
the moving parts are part of it.
Totally. I'm with you. It's all connected. Everything is so holistic. And I think oftentimes we can forget that, right? And so
Totally. Yeah.
really adoring this amazing vessel that we've been gifted.
Hmm.
I love you, Molly. You're
I love you so
amazing.
much. This is so fun.
So fun. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you just want to close with? And then we'll get to where they can find all the links and you can share like your quiz link and stuff. But I just want to check in. Is there anything that feels present that you'd like to close with?
I mean, I feel like we covered a lot of amazing stuff, but yeah, just stay curious, ask big questions. My little catchphrase is ask big questions and take bold action, and remember that you're here for a reason. Like, keep going.
Mm,
Don't give up. Don't let the man get you down. Don't let a seeming failure stop you in your tracks. Like, there's always another way. And if there is stagnation or stuckness, then look for another way around, because, you
mhm.
know, you wouldn't be guided forward to the things you're being pulled towards if it wasn't for a reason, in my opinion.
Beautiful. Beautiful way to end. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And do you want to share your quiz link?
Yeah, so you can take the quiz that we were talking about earlier at Wild Hearts with an S, riseup.com/quiz, or wildheartsriseup.com/oracle. We'll take you to the Oracle deck if you want to check that out. Yeah.
Perfect. Good. And then any other links or resources that we may have mentioned during this show can be found over on my website, the show page for Molly. This is episode 31. So the show
Yeah.
page for her is jessicatomlinson.com/show-31. So,
Cool.
all right, love. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
Mwah.
me. You're the
You're
best.
welcome. We'll talk
Thanks.
soon.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you guys soon. Bye.